Scarred billionaire hides in mountains until unwanted mail order. Bride heals his broken heart. He hid his scars behind stone walls in silence. She arrived as the bride he never wanted. But when beauty met the beast in the mountains of Montana, she saw past his broken exterior to the shattered heart beneath. Can love heal what tragedy destroyed? Smash that like button and subscribe, because this Beauty and the Beast retelling will make you believe in the power of acceptance. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Wyatt Morrison remembered that detail with perfect clarity. Tuesday, 3:15 in the afternoon, the Montana sun bright overhead. He'd been driving too fast on mountain roads, angry after another fight with his business partner. The deer came out of nowhere. Swerve. Overcorrect. The SUV tumbling down the ravine like a tiwam. Then fire. He remembered the fire most of all. The heat. The smell of burning flesh. His own screams. That was 4 years ago. Now Wyatt stood at the window of his mountain fortress, looking out at snow-covered peaks that matched the coldness in his soul. His hand, the left one, the one that still worked properly, traced the scars that ran from his temple to his jaw. Thick raised tissue that made children cry and adults look away. He was a monster now, and monsters belonged in cages. Behind him, the house creaked in the wind. 10,000 square feet of stone and timber built into the mountainside like a wound. No neighbors for 15 miles. No visitors. No one who could see what he'd become. Perfect. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It would be his mother again, calling from her home in Billings. She called every day. He answered once a week, just enough to prove he was still alive. The phone stopped, started again immediately. With a sigh, Wyatt answered. Mother. Wyatt. Margaret Morrison's voice was steel-wrapped in velvet. I'm glad you finally picked up. I'm busy. You're always busy. Busy hiding, busy wallowing, busy wasting your life. Was there a point to this call? Yes, a pause. I've arranged something, a companion for you. Every muscle in Wyatt's body went rigid. What did you do? I hired a service, a very discreet service. They match people who need fresh starts with people who need help. You hired me a mail-order bride. His voice was flat with fury. I hired you a chance at happiness. Her name is Sarah. She arrives tomorrow. Send her back. I can't. The contract is already signed. She's paid for Wyatt. She's coming whether you like it or not. I'll send her away myself then. You could do that. His mother's voice softened. Or you could give her a chance. Give yourself a chance. You're not dead, Wyatt. You're just hiding. There's a difference. I'm done with this conversation. She arrives at 2 p.m. Please don't be cruel to her. She's had a hard life too. Wyatt hung up and threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the stone fireplace. A bride. His mother had sent him a bride. As if some desperate woman could fix what was broken. As if anyone could look at his face and see anything but horror. He'd send her away, give her money, send her somewhere else. Anywhere else. This wasn't a fairy tale. And he wasn't a beast waiting to be saved. Sarah Chen stood in the parking lot of the tiny Montana airport, her single suitcase at her feet, and wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. The driver was late, or maybe he wasn't coming at all. Maybe this was all a scam, and she just signed away 6 months of her life for nothing. The wind cut through her thin jacket. She'd grown up in California, where winter meant wearing a light sweater. Here, winter was a living thing that wanted to devour her. Miss Chen, she turned. A woman in her 60s, silver hair, pulled back expensive coat, kind eyes. I'm Margaret Morrison, Wyatt's mother. Oh, Sarah shook her hand. It's nice to meet you. The pleasure is mine. Come, my car is this way. Margaret took Sarah's suitcase like it weighed nothing. I'm afraid I have some things to explain before we reach the house. They drove in a luxury SUV, climbing mountain roads that grew narrower and more remote with each mile. Margaret talked as she drove. My son was in an accident 4 years ago, a car crash. He was burned quite badly. Sarah's stomach dropped. How badly? His face, his neck, his left arm. Margaret's hands tightened on the wheel. The doctors did what they could, but the scarring is extensive. Wyatt hasn't left the mountain since it happened. He's convinced he's a monster. Why did you hire me? Because he's dying up there. Not physically, though God knows he doesn't take care of himself, But emotionally, spiritually, he's 29 years old and he's already given up on life. Margaret glanced at her. I read your file. You were a hospice nurse before everything fell apart. Sarah flinched. Before her husband died, before the medical bills crushed her, before she lost the house and everything else. Hospice is about quality of life, Margaret continued, about helping people live fully in whatever time they have. That's what Wyatt needs. Someone who sees past the surface. Someone who won't be scared away. And if I am scared, then you'll be just like everyone else he's encountered in 4 years. Margaret's smile was sad. But I don't think you will be. Your eyes are kind, and you've known pain. That makes you strong in ways most people aren't. They turned onto a private road climbing higher. Trees pressed close on either side. Then the forest opened up, and Sarah saw the house. It looked like something from a Gothic novel. Dark stone, sharp angles, windows like watching eyes. It clung to the mountainside, half buried in rock and snow, beautiful and terrible at once. He doesn't know you're coming, Margaret said quietly. He'll try to send you away. Don't let him. How am I supposed to stop him? By being stubborn, by being kind, by refusing to see what he thinks he is. Margaret pulled to a stop in front of the house. Your contract is for 6 months, room and board provided plus a monthly stipend. After 6 months, if you choose to leave, you'll receive a settlement of $50,000. If you leave early, you get nothing. $50,000. Enough to start over. Enough to rebuild. And what does he get? Sarah asked. Company, care, maybe hope if you're very good at your job. Margaret handed her a key. The code for the gate is 0839. His birthday. There's a guest room on the second floor east wing. Make yourself at home. You're leaving. He won't come out if I'm here. He barely tolerates my phone calls. Margaret squeezed Sarah's hand. Good luck, dear. You're going to need it. She drove away, leaving Sarah alone in front of the fortress. Sarah picked up her suitcase, climbed the stone steps, used the key. The door swung open on silent hinges. Inside the house was dark. Heavy curtains blocked most of the light. Sarah fumbled for a switch, found one. Lights flickered on, revealing a great room with vaulted ceilings and a fireplace big enough to stand in. Expensive furniture, all of it covered in a thin layer of dust. The air smelled stale. No one had lived here in a long time. Someone had existed here, but not lived. Hello, Sarah called. Her voice echoed. Mr. Morrison. Silence. She ventured deeper, finding a kitchen that was spotless but empty. A dining room with a table set for one. A library with thousands of books and a leather chair worn from use. Upstairs, she found the guest room Margaret had mentioned. It was clean, the bed made with fresh sheets. Someone, probably Margaret, had prepared it. Sarah unpacked her few belongings, changed into warmer clothes, jeans, a thick sweater, boots. Then she went exploring. The house had 2 wings. The west wing was clearly Wyatt's. She could feel it in the air, the sense of occupation. She didn't intrude. The east wing was storage, guest rooms, empty spaces. She found the kitchen again and opened the refrigerator. Well stocked. Someone delivered groceries regularly. She made coffee, found bread and butter and eggs, made herself breakfast even though it was nearly 3 p.m. She was finishing her eggs when she felt eyes on her. Sarah turned slowly. A man stood in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in dark clothes. His right side was in shadow. His left side caught the light. Sarah's breath caught. The scars were extensive. Thick bands of raised tissue that ran from his temple across his cheek down his neck and disappeared under his collar. His left eye was slightly pulled by the scarring. His mouth twisted at one corner. He stared at her with undisguised hostility. Get out! His voice was rough, deep, the voice of a man who rarely used it. Sarah set down her fork carefully. Hello, Mr. Morrison. I'm Sarah Chen. Your mother hired me. I didn't hire you. Leave. I have a contract. I'll buy you out of it. Name your price. 6 months of my life and $50,000 at the end. His eyes narrowed. I'll give you $60,000 right now. Cash. Just get out. No. He moved, then crossing the kitchen in 3 long strides. He loomed over her, using his size to intimidate. Up close, the scars were even more dramatic. Sarah could see where skin grafts had been attempted, where tissue had been too damaged to save. I don't want you here, he said, each word bitten off. I don't need company. I don't need care. I need to be left alone. What you need and what you want are two different things. What I need is for you to leave my house. Our house for the next 6 months. Sarah stood, refusing to be cowed. I signed a contract. I intend to honor it. They stared at each other. Sarah kept her face neutral, careful not to show pity or horror or any of the emotions he probably expected. Fine, Wyatt said, finally stepping back. Stay, but don't expect anything from me. I won't talk to you. I won't eat with you. You're a ghost in my house, that's all. That's fine. I mean it. Don't try to help me. Don't try to fix me. Don't try to be my friend. Understood. He left without another word, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. A door slammed somewhere overhead. Sarah sat back down, finished her cold eggs, washed her dishes, then she started cleaning. The house was filthy. Not on the surface, Wyatt clearly had a cleaning service that came regularly, but the kind of filth that accumulates in neglect. Dead plants, dusty books, windows that hadn't been opened in years. Sarah spent the rest of the day opening windows, despite the cold airing out rooms, wiping down surfaces, bringing life back to dead spaces. She found a home gym in the basement, weights machines, all of it used regularly. At least he was taking care of his body. She found his office, computers, monitors, evidence of a business being run remotely. Tech mogul Margaret had mentioned. Software development. She found his bedroom door, locked. By evening, Sarah was exhausted. She made dinner pasta with vegetables, simple but hearty. She set 2 places at the dining room table, called up the stairs. Dinner's ready. Silence. She waited 10 minutes. Then she ate alone, covered his plate and left it on the stove. At midnight, when she went down for water, the plate was gone, washed and put away. So he did eat, just not with her. Sarah smiled. Day 1 survived. The pattern continued for a week. Sarah woke early, made breakfast, called up to tell him food was ready, ate alone. His plate always disappeared when she wasn't looking. She cleaned, cooked, read in the library, went for walks in the snow. She never saw him except in glimpses, a shadow in a hallway, footsteps overhead, the sense of being watched. On day 8, she found a note on the kitchen counter. Stop cooking for me. I can feed myself. Sarah wrote back, I'm cooking for myself anyway. Making extra doesn't hurt. The next day, a new note. Stop opening windows. It's too cold. Her response, fresh air is good for you. Wear a sweater. Day 10, your singing is annoying. Sorry, I'll try to be quieter. She didn't try to be quieter. Day 12, why are you still here? Because I have nowhere else to go. The notes stopped after that, but the plates kept disappearing. Sarah took it as progress. 2 weeks in, she found the library door open. Wyatt sat in the leather chair reading. His scarred side was to the door. He'd positioned himself deliberately, she realized, always showing his worst side first. A test. Sarah walked in like it was the most natural thing in the world. What are you reading? He didn't look up. Go away. Dickens. She leaned over to see the cover. Great Expectations. That's fitting. How is it fitting? Pip spends the whole novel convinced he's not good enough, that he's damaged, that he needs to become someone else to deserve love. She met his eyes, the left one slightly misaligned from the scarring, but still beautiful, gray like storm clouds. Spoiler alert, he was wrong. Wyatt's jaw tightened. It's just a book. All books are just books until they tell us truths we need to hear. Sarah pulled out another book from the shelf. Have you read this one, The Phantom of the Opera? Another fitting choice. I'm not the Phantom. Aren't you hiding in your fortress, convinced you're too monstrous for daylight driving away anyone who tries to reach you? The Phantom was a murderer. The Phantom was traumatized. There's a difference. She sat in the chair across from him. What happened to you was terrible. I'm not minimizing that, but you survived, Wyatt. You're alive. Hiding up here isn't living. You don't know anything about me. I know you work 16-hour days running your company remotely. I know you work out obsessively in the basement. I know you read constantly classic literature, philosophy, psychology. I know you eat the meals I make even though you pretend you don't want them. I know you're in pain, physical and emotional, and too stubborn to ask for help. He stared at her, something like shock in his expression. You've been spying on me. I've been observing. There's a difference. Sarah leaned forward. I was a hospice nurse, Wyatt. My job was helping people live fully in their final days. You're not dying, but you're not living either. That's a kind of death too. I didn't ask for your diagnosis. No, you asked me to leave, but I'm still here, and I'll keep being here until you either accept it or physically throw me out. Don't tempt me. You won't, she smiled, because despite everything, you're not cruel. You're hurt. There's a difference, Brian. Wyatt closed his book with a snap. You think you have me figured out. I think I see you more clearly than you see yourself. What do you, Tiamo? A man who thinks his scars make him a monster, who's forgotten that scars are just evidence of survival, who needs someone to remind him that he's still human. The silence stretched between them. Wyatt's scarred hand clenched on the arm of his chair. Get out of my library, he said quietly. Okay. Sarah stood. I made beef stew for dinner. Your bowl will be on the stove. She left him there surrounded by books, wearing his scars like armor. But she'd seen his eyes, and for just a moment, behind the anger and the pain, she'd seen something else. Hope. The next morning, Wyatt was waiting in the kitchen when Sarah came down. She stopped surprised. In 2 weeks, this was the first time he'd been in a room with her by choice. Good morning, she said carefully. He didn't respond, just stared at her, his expression unreadable. The morning light through the window illuminated his scars in sharp relief. Sarah kept her face neutral, meeting his eyes directly. I want to establish rules, Wyatt said finally. Okay. You stay in your wing, I stay in mine. We don't have meals together. We don't have conversations. You're here because of a contract, not because we're friends. Understood. I mean it, Sarah. Don't try to fix me. Don't try to save me. I'm not a project. I know. Do you... He moved closer into the light, making sure she could see every ridge of damaged tissue. I'm not the romantic hero in one of your novels. I'm not going to suddenly realize I'm beautiful inside or whatever bullshit you're imagining. This, he gestured to his face, is what I am now. It's not going to change. I never thought it would. Then what are you doing here? Surviving, same as you. Sarah poured herself coffee with steady hands. You want rules, fine, but I have some too. His eyebrows rose. You're in no position to make demands. I have a contract. That gives me every position. She faced him squarely. My rules, I will cook meals. You can eat them or not, but I'm cooking. I will clean common areas. I will not clean your personal space. I will be polite and respectful. I expect the same courtesy. That's it. That's it. You want to hide in your wing, fine. You want to pretend I don't exist, fine. But I'm not going to tiptoe around you like you're made of glass. You're not fragile. You're just wounded. There's a difference. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, or the beginning of respect. Fine, he said. Your rules are acceptable. Good. They stood in the kitchen, the morning light between them. Sarah sipped her coffee. Wyatt seemed uncertain what to do next. He started. Would you like coffee? Sarah asked. I made a full pot. I don't, he stopped, started again. Yes, thank you. She poured him a mug. Black, she guessed. He seemed like a black coffee person. She was right. He took it careful not to let their fingers touch, and took a sip. It's good, he admitted grudgingly. My husband taught me. He was obsessed with the perfect cup of coffee. Bought fancy beans, a French press, the whole setup. The words slipped out before Sarah could stop them. You're married, Wyatt's voice was sharp. He died 2 years ago, cancer. I'm sorry. So am I. Sarah wrapped her hands around her own mug. He was only 31. We were supposed to have decades together. Instead, we got 3 years and a mountain of medical debt. That's why you're here. The money. Partly. Mostly I'm here because I didn't know where else to go. My husband's family blamed me for not saving him, as if nurses can cure stage 4 pancreatic cancer through sheer will. I lost the house. Lost my job when grief made me unreliable. Lost everything. She met his eyes. So yes, I'm here for money. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But I'm also here because I understand loss. I understand grief. I understand waking up one day and realizing the person you were is gone, and you have to figure out how to be someone new. Wyatt was very still, his scarred hand tight around his mug. The person I was died in that car crash, he said quietly. The man who came out of the hospital wasn't me. He looked like a monster. So I became one. You're not a monster. You don't know that. I was a hospice nurse for 6 years. I've seen real monsters. People who hurt others intentionally. People who take pleasure in causing pain. You're not that. You're just hurt and scared. I'm not scared. Liar. Sarah smiled. You're terrified. Terrified that if people see you, they'll run. So you hide up here where no one can reject you. It's safer. It is safer. Maybe. But safe isn't the same as alive. She left him in the kitchen, her coffee growing cold on the counter. But she felt his eyes on her back, watching, thinking, maybe beginning to wonder if she was right. 3 weeks into their arrangement, something shifted. Wyatt started appearing more. Not for meals, he still took those alone in his wing. But he'd be in the library when Sarah came in, or the kitchen when she made coffee. He never initiated conversation, just existed in the same space. Sarah treated it like the gift it was. She didn't push, didn't demand, just acknowledged his presence and went about her day. Good morning. A grunt in response. Progress. Cold today. Silence, but he poured himself coffee from the pot she'd made. I'm making soup for lunch. A nod. He'd eat it later alone, but he'd eat it. Baby steps. One morning, Sarah came down to find Wyatt standing at the kitchen window, staring out at fresh snow that had fallen overnight. It's beautiful, she said softly, coming to stand beside him. For a moment, she thought he'd leave, run back to his wing like he always did when she got too close. But he stayed. I used to love winter, he said, his voice rough from disuse. Before, I'd ski, go hiking, spend all day outside. What stopped you? People, stairs, children crying. His jaw clenched. The mountain is beautiful, but I can only see it through windows now. Sarah's heart ached. Have you tried going out early morning, maybe, before anyone else is around? I go out at night sometimes, when it's dark and no one can see. That must be lonely. Lonely is better than terrifying children. Wyatt? She turned to face him fully. You're not as scary as you think you are. He made a harsh sound. You're just being kind. I'm being honest. Yes, you have scars. Yes, they're extensive, but they're just scars. They don't make you a monster. Easy for you to say. Is it? Sarah pulled her hair back, revealing a scar that ran from behind her ear down her neck. Thin, surgical, but unmistakably there. Car accident when I was 16. The other driver ran a red light. I wasn't supposed to survive. When I woke up 3 weeks later, I had this. And this. She pushed up her sleeve, showing more scars on her arm. And burns on my back from the fire. Wyatt stared at the scars, then at her face. I never noticed. Because you were too busy worrying about your own scars to look at mine. She let her sleeve fall. Everyone has scars, Wyatt. Some are just more visible than others. Yours tell a story of survival. That's not monstrous. That's human. He reached out his hand, hovering near her neck scar, then dropping. Like he wanted to touch but didn't dare. Does it hurt? He asked quietly. Still, sometimes when it's cold or when I'm tired. She met his eyes. Do yours always. He turned away. Nerve damage. Tissue that doesn't stretch properly. It's like wearing a mask that's too tight. Have you tried physical therapy? For a year, it helps some, but there's only so much they can do. What about massage? Sometimes that helps with scar tissue. No one wants to touch. He trailed off. I would, Sarah said simply. Wyatt's eyes snapped to hers. What? I'm a nurse. I've dealt with burn victims before. I know techniques that might help. If you'd let me trip, Why would you do that? Because you're in pain. Because I might be able to help. Because that's what I do. She smiled. You don't have to decide now. But the offer stands. She left him there staring after her with an expression that might have been hope. 2 days later, there was a knock on Sarah's bedroom door. She opened it to find Wyatt standing in the hallway looking uncomfortable. "If the offer still stands," he said, not meeting her eyes, "for the massage. I'd like to try it." Sarah's heart lifted. "Of course, give me 10 minutes to set up. Meet me in the library." He nodded and disappeared. Sarah gathered supplies, towels, oil, a portable massage table she'd found in storage. She set everything up by the fireplace in the library, building a fire to keep the room warm. Wyatt appeared exactly 10 minutes later. "You'll need to take your shirt off," Sarah said gently. "I need to access the scar tissue on your neck and shoulder." For a moment she thought he'd bolt, but he nodded and pulled his shirt over his head. Sarah had seen burn victims before. She'd prepared herself. But seeing the full extent of Wyatt's scars still made her breath catch, not in horror, but in grief for what he'd endured. The scarring ran from his left temple, across his cheek, down his neck, and spread across his shoulder and upper arm. Some areas were smooth and shiny from skin grafts. Others were thick with raised tissue. His left arm had limited mobility. She could see it in the way he held himself. "Lie down on your stomach," she said, keeping her voice professional. "Let me know if anything hurts too much." He lay down stiffly. Sarah warmed oil between her hands and placed them gently on his scarred shoulder. Wyatt flinched. "Sorry," Sarah murmured. "I'll be gentle. Just breathe." She worked slowly, carefully, feeling for the tight bands of tissue under her fingers. Gentle pressure, circular motions following the techniques she'd learned years ago. Wyatt was rigid beneath her hands, every muscle locked. "You need to relax," Sarah said softly. "Tension makes it worse." "I don't remember how to relax." "Then I'll teach you. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Let everything else fade away." She kept talking, her voice low and soothing as her hands worked. Gradually, incredibly, Wyatt began to soften. His breathing deepened. The tension in his muscles eased. Sarah worked for 30 minutes, focusing on the worst of the scar tissue. She could feel where it pulled, where it restricted movement. She couldn't fix it all. That would take months, maybe years. But she could help. "How does that feel?" she asked, finally stepping back. Wyatt sat up slowly, rotating his shoulder. His eyes were wide. "Better," he said, wonder in his voice. "It actually feels better. We'll need to do this regularly to see real improvement. A few times a week, maybe." "You do that?" "Of course," Sarah cleaned her hands. "You're in pain. I can help. Why wouldn't I?" "Because he gestured to his face. "Scarred. I know. We've established that." Sarah smiled. "But you're also human. And humans deserve care regardless of what they look like." Wyatt stared at her for a long moment. Then incredibly he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small curve of his mouth on the unscarred side, but it transformed his face. "Thank you," he said quietly. "That's the first time in 4 years someone has touched me without flinching." Sarah's heart broke and healed simultaneously. "You're welcome." So, after that, something fundamental changed. Wyatt still didn't eat meals with her, still kept to his wing most of the time. But he appeared more often, sat in the library while she read, made coffee while she cooked, walked through the house like he was learning to inhabit it again. And 3 times a week, he came to her for massage therapy. Those sessions became sacred. Sarah worked on his scars while they talked, really talked, about his life before the accident, about her life before her husband died, about dreams and fears and everything in between. "I was supposed to take over my father's company," Wyatt said one afternoon, lying face down while Sarah worked on his shoulder. "Morrison Tech, software development. Dad built it from nothing. I was 25, and I thought I could change the world." "What happened?" "The accident. When I woke up in the hospital and saw my face, I couldn't imagine going back. Couldn't imagine standing in front of investors or employees looking like this. So I sold my shares to my business partner. Took the money and built this place. Do you regret it?" "Every day." His voice was raw. "I gave up everything because I was scared, because I let the scars win." "It's not too late," Sarah said gently. "You could go back, start over." It's what the monster in the boardroom. As Wyatt Morrison, brilliant tech developer, survivor, human being. He was quiet for a long moment. "You make it sound simple." "I didn't say it was simple. I said it was possible. There's a difference." Sarah finished the massage and Wyatt sat up, rotating his arm. The range of motion had improved dramatically over the past few weeks. Sarah, he caught her hand before she could move away, the first time he'd initiated physical contact. Why are you really here? The money can't be worth this. Living in isolation. Dealing with me. Sarah looked at their joined hands. His was scarred and rough. Hers was small and soft. They fit together in a way that felt right. I told you, I understand loss. I understand grief. She met his eyes. But also, I see you, Wyatt, not the scars, you, and you're worth seeing. His grip on her hand tightened. I haven't let anyone see me in 4 years. I know. I don't know how to do this, how to be vulnerable. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. They sat in the library, hands joined the fire crackling beside them. Outside, snow fell in gentle curtains. Inside, something fragile and new was growing. Something that felt dangerously like hope. The next morning, Wyatt was waiting in the kitchen when Sarah came down. I want to show you something, he said. Get dressed warm. We're going outside. Sarah bundled up in her heaviest coat, boots, gloves, hat. Wyatt was already outside when she emerged, standing by a massive four-wheeler. Get on, he said, gesturing to the seat behind him. Sarah climbed on, wrapping her arms around his waist. She felt him tense, then relax, accepting the contact. They drove up the mountain, following a snow-covered track that wound between trees. The sun was just rising, painting the world in shades of pink and gold. After 20 minutes, Wyatt stopped at a clearing. This is my favorite place, he said, helping her off the four-wheeler. The only place I still feel like myself. The view was breathtaking. Mountains stretched in every direction, their peaks touched with dawn light. Below, a valley spread out like a painting. No houses, no roads, just wilderness. It's beautiful, Sarah breathed. I come here when the walls feel too close, when I need to remember there's a world beyond my prison. It's not a prison, it's a hiding place. There's a difference, Fatum. Is there? Wyatt looked at her, his scarred face stark in the morning light. A prison locks you in. A hiding place keeps the world out. Either way, you're alone. Not anymore. Sarah moved to stand beside him. You're not alone, Wyatt. Not as long as I'm here. You'll leave eventually. In 3 months, your contract ends. You'll take your money and go back to California, back to sunshine and warmth, and a life that makes sense. What if I don't want to leave? The words hung between them. Wyatt stared at her, something raw and desperate in his expression. Don't say that unless you mean it, he said hoarsely. Don't give me hope just to take it away. I'm not. Sarah reached up, her gloved hand touching his scarred cheek. He flinched but didn't pull away. These past weeks, getting to know you, seeing who you really are. Wyatt, I don't want to leave. I want to stay. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. She moved closer. I'm saying that somewhere along the way, this stopped being about a contract. It became about you, about us, about the possibility of something real. I can't give you a normal life. I can't take you to restaurants or movies. I can't give you the things you deserve. I don't want normal. I want real. I want honest. I want you. Wyatt's hand came up, covering hers where it rested on his cheek. His eyes were bright with unshed tears. I'm falling for you, he whispered. God help me, Sarah. I'm falling for you. And it terrifies me. I'm falling for you too, and I'm terrified too, but maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared means it matters. He kissed her then, gentle and hesitant, like he was afraid she'd break. Sarah kissed him back, her hand sliding into his hair, pulling him closer. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Wyatt rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this, he said. How to be with someone. How to let someone in. We'll figure it out together, Sarah repeated, one day at a time, one moment at a time. They stood together in the clearings as the sun rose, fully painting the world in light. And for the first time in 4 years, Wyatt felt something other than pain. He felt alive. The next 3 weeks were a revelation. Wyatt started eating breakfast with Sarah, then lunch, then dinner. They'd sit at the long table, not at opposite ends anymore, but close enough to touch. They talked about everything. His childhood on the ranch he had grown up on, her childhood moving between foster homes before her adoption, His dreams of changing the tech world, her dreams of opening a hospice facility that focused on quality of life. "We could do it together," Wyatt said one night over dinner. "My money, your expertise. Build something that actually helps people. You'd invest in that. I'd invest in anything that puts that light in your eyes." They started watching movies together, curled up on the couch in the library. Sarah's head on Wyatt's shoulder, his arm around her. He still tensed when she touched his scarred side, but less each day. They kissed often, soft kisses, deep kisses, kisses that made Sarah's heart race and her body ache for more. But Wyatt always pulled back before things went too far. "I'm not ready," he'd say, his voice rough with desire and fear. "I need time." "I'm not going anywhere," Sarah would assure him. "We have time." And they did. The contract that had brought them together became irrelevant. This wasn't about obligation anymore. It was about choice. They chose each other. Every day, in 100 small ways, they chose each other. Then his mother called. Wyatt's face went pale as he listened. Sarah watched from the kitchen doorway, her heart sinking. "When?" Wyatt asked. A pause. "I'll think about it." He hung up and stood staring at his phone. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked. "Morrison Tech is having their annual gala next month. In Billings. My mother wants me to come. Wants me to consider taking back my position as CEO." "That's wonderful." Did he turned to face her anguish in his eyes. "Sarah, I haven't been in public in 4 years. I haven't seen anyone but you and my mother. The thought of walking into a room full of people, having them stare." "Then don't go alone." Sarah crossed to him, taking his hands. "I'll go with you." "You do that? Of course, we're in this together, remember? But the stares, the whispers, they'll be brutal. Let them stare. Let them whisper. I don't care what they think. I only care about you." Wyatt pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her hair. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You deserve everything good in this world, and I'm going to spend however long you'll let me proving that to you." "Forever," Wyatt said into her hair. "I want you to stay forever." Then forever it is. They held each other in the kitchen, the mountain wind howling outside, and made a promise that went far beyond any contract. They promised each other a future. Now they just had to believe it was possible. The month before the gala was torture. Wyatt practiced. He practiced leaving the house in daylight. He practiced driving into town. He practiced walking into stores with Sarah by his side, enduring the stares, the double takes, the horrified expressions on children's faces. Each time he came home, shaking. "I can't do this," he'd say, collapsing on the couch. "I can't face hundreds of people." "Yes, you can," Sarah would say, holding him. "You're the bravest person I know." "I'm not brave, I'm terrified." Bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's doing the thing that terrifies you anyway. But Sarah was terrified too, terrified that this would break him, that he'd retreat back into his fortress and never come out again. 2 weeks before the gala, Wyatt had a nightmare. Sarah woke to his screams echoing through the house. She ran to his room. He'd finally given her permission to enter, and found him tangled in sheets, his scarred hand clawing at his face. "The fire," he gasped. "I can smell it. I can feel it. It's not real. You're safe. You're here with me." Sarah climbed into bed beside him, pulling him into her arms. "Breathe with me. In and out. That's it." She held him as he shook, as he cried, as 4 years of trauma poured out. When he finally stilled, exhausted, he looked at her with raw, red eyes. "What if I go to that gala and have a panic attack in front of everyone? What if I humiliate myself, humiliate you? Then we leave. We come home. We try again." Sarah brushed hair back from his forehead. "Wyatt, there is nothing you could do that would humiliate me. I'm proud to be with you. Scars and all. Even if I fall apart. Especially if you fall apart. Because that means you tried. That means you're living instead of just existing." He kissed her, then desperate and deep, and for the first time when passion built between them, he didn't pull away. They made love slowly, carefully. Wyatt kept the lights off, unable to bear Sarah seeing all of him. But she touched every scar, kissed every damaged inch of skin, and showed him without words that he was still whole to her. Afterwards, lying tangled together, Wyatt whispered, "I love you." Sarah's heart soared. "I love you too. If we do this, if I go to the gala, If I take back my position at the company, everything changes. No more hiding, no more safety. No more prison, Sarah corrected. No more half-living. I'm so scared. Me too. But we'll be scared together. Mayday. The night of the gala arrived too quickly. Sarah stood in front of the mirror in a deep blue gown Margaret had sent. She barely recognized herself. Her hair was styled, her makeup perfect. She looked like someone who belonged at a billionaire's gala. She felt like a fraud. Wyatt appeared in the doorway and Sarah's breath caught. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit. His hair was trimmed neat. He'd shaved the unscarred side of his face. The scars were still prominent. There was no hiding them, but he stood tall, proud. "You're beautiful," he said. "So are you." His mouth twisted the side that could still smile. Liar. Truth teller. Sarah crossed to him, adjusting his tie. "You ready?" "No, but I'm going anyway." They drove down the mountain together, Wyatt's hand clenched around Sarah's the entire way. As they approached Billings, his breathing became ragged. "Pull over," Sarah said quietly. Wyatt pulled into a parking lot. His hands shook on the wheel. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can. Everyone will stare." "Let them." Sarah turned his face toward her, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Wyatt, you are not your scars. You are brilliant. You are kind. You are strong. You survived something that would have destroyed most people. That's not something to hide. That's something to own." "I don't feel strong." "Then borrow my strength until you find yours again." He kissed her hard and desperate. When he pulled back, there was determination in his eyes. "Okay, let's do this." Duh. The gala was being held in the ballroom of Billings' finest hotel. As they approached the entrance, Wyatt's steps slowed. Through the glass doors, Sarah could see hundreds of people in evening wear, champagne glasses in hand, conversation flowing. "Last chance to run," Wyatt said. "Not a chance," Sarah squeezed his hand. "We're going in together, and we're staying together. I'm not leaving your side." They walked through the doors. The effect was instantaneous. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. People stared open-mouthed. A few gasped. Sarah heard a child say, "Mommy, what's wrong with that man's face?" Wyatt froze. Sarah felt him start to pull back, to retreat. She tightened her grip on his hand. "Head up," she whispered. "You belong here." Then Margaret was there, sweeping toward them with tears in her eyes. "Wyatt." She embraced him, not caring who was watching. "You came. You actually came." "Mom." His voice was strained. "Everyone's staring." "Of course they're staring. They haven't seen you in 4 years. Let them look. They'll get over it." Margaret turned to address the room, her voice carrying. "Everyone, you remember my son Wyatt, the actual brains behind Morrison Tech, the man who built the software that made you all rich. He's been away dealing with the aftermath of a terrible accident. But he's back now, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave." Silence. Then incredibly, someone started clapping. Then another. Then another. Within moments, the entire room was applauding. Wyatt stood frozen, shock written on his face. Sarah saw tears gather in his eyes. "They're not horrified," he whispered. "No," Sarah said softly. "They're welcoming you home." The rest of the evening was a blur. People approached cautiously at first, then with more confidence. They shook Wyatt's hand, asked about his work, expressed genuine pleasure at seeing him again. A few mentioned the scars, brief acknowledgments, then moving on to what mattered: his mind, his vision, his leadership. The board of directors surrounded him, all talking at once about bringing him back as CEO. Wyatt fielded their questions with an ease Sarah hadn't expected. This was his element. Business, technology, innovation. The scars didn't matter here. "You're incredible," Sarah said during a brief moment alone. "Look at you, you're thriving." "I'm terrified," he admitted, "but also alive." "God, Sarah, I feel alive again." "Good, because you are alive, and you deserve to live fully." Near the end of the evening, a small girl approached them, maybe 6 years old, with pigtails and a flower girl dress. She looked up at Wyatt with wide eyes. "Mister, what happened to your face?" Her mother rushed forward, mortified. "Emma, that's rude. I'm so sorry." "It's okay," Wyatt said. He crouched down to the girl's level. "I was in a car accident. I got burned." "Did it hurt?" "Very much. It still hurts sometimes." My daddy says scars are how we know we're strong because they show we survived something hard. Wyatt's breath caught. Your daddy is very wise. Are you strong? I'm trying to be. Emma smiled and patted his scarred cheek gently. I think you're very strong and brave. My daddy says brave people do things even when they're scared. Then she skipped away, leaving Wyatt kneeling on the floor, tears streaming down his face. Sarah helped him up, holding him as his shoulders shook. She called me brave, he whispered. A child looked at me and called me brave. Because you are. They left the gala early, overwhelmed and exhausted. But as they drove back up the mountain, Wyatt was smiling. I did it, he said, wonder in his voice. I actually did it. You did more than that. You thrived. The board wants me back, full-time CEO. I'd have to move to Billings, be in the office, attend meetings, be visible. What do you want? Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. I want my life back. I want to do the work I love. I want to stop hiding. He glanced at her. But I don't want to lose you. You won't lose me. I'm coming with you. To Billings. To wherever you go. We're in this together, remember? He pulled over at their clearing, the one where he'd first told her he was falling for her. The moon was full, painting the mountains in silver light. Marry me, Wyatt said. Sarah's heart stopped. What? Marry me? Not because of a contract or obligation. Marry me because I love you. Because you see me, the real me, and you don't look away. Because you make me want to be brave. He took her hands. I don't have a ring. I didn't plan this. But Sarah, I can't imagine my life without you in it. Marry me. Yes. The word came out choked with tears. Yes, of course, yes. He kissed her then, deep and passionate and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying and laughing. I have nothing to offer you but broken pieces, Wyatt said. Good, because I'm broken too. We'll be broken together. And maybe piece by piece we'll help each other heal. Epilogue. 6 months later, Sarah stood at the window of their new home in Billings, watching the city wake up. Behind her, Wyatt was getting ready for work. Morrison Tech's CEO back where he belonged. He still had hard days. Days when the stairs were too much. Days when the pain was overwhelming. Days when he wanted to retreat back to the mountain. But he didn't hide anymore. He lived. They'd married in a small ceremony at the mountain house. Just Margaret and a few close friends. Sarah wore a simple white dress. Wyatt wore a suit and his scars and a smile that lit up his entire face. The hospice facility was breaking ground next month. Sarah had quit her old job and thrown herself into the planning. Wyatt funded it, but Sarah ran it. Together they were building something that mattered. Ready? Wyatt appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Ready? They drove to Morrison Tech together. Employees greeted Wyatt warmly. A few still stared, but most had gotten used to his appearance. One programmer had burns on his own arms from a house fire. He and Wyatt had formed an unlikely friendship, swapping stories about scars and survival. In the elevator up to the executive floor, Wyatt caught Sarah's hand. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. For seeing past the scars. For loving me when I couldn't love myself. You make it sound like it was hard. Wyatt, loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done. Even the broken parts. Especially the broken parts. She smiled. The broken parts are what make you real. What make you you. I wouldn't change a thing. Not even the scars. Sarah reached up, tracing the line of scar tissue on his cheek. Not even the scars. They're part of your story. And I love every chapter. The elevator doors opened. Wyatt's assistant was waiting with a stack of folders and a full schedule. He kissed Sarah goodbye, a quick press of lips that still made her heart race. Dinner at 7, he asked. It's a date. Sarah watched him walk toward his office, head high, confident. The beast who'd hidden in a mountain fortress was gone. In his place was a man who'd learned to be brave, a man who'd learned to live. All he'd needed was someone to see him. And Sarah had seen him from the start. Not the scars, not the damage. Just the man underneath waiting to be found. Later that evening, curled up on the couch in their home, Sarah asked, Do you ever miss it? The mountain, the isolation. Sometimes, Wyatt admitted, sometimes I miss the safety of hiding. But then I look at you, at our life, at everything we're building, and I realize something. What? I was never really safe on that mountain. I was just alone. And being alone isn't safety. It's just another kind of death. He pulled her closer. You taught me that. You taught me that living means risking hurt, means being vulnerable, means letting people in even when it's terrifying. And is it worth it? Sarah asked softly. The risk, the fear. Wyatt kissed the top of her head. Every single day, every single moment. You're worth every risk, Sarah. You're worth everything. They sat together as the sun set over Billings, two broken people who'd found each other and learned to be whole. The beauty had seen past the beast's scars. The beast had learned he was never a beast at all, just a man who needed to be reminded that he was worth loving. And together they'd built something neither could have built alone. A life, a love, a future. Did this Beauty and the Beast story touch your heart? Like this video and subscribe for more emotional romance tales. Comment below which moment made you cry, the gala scene, the little girl calling him brave, or the proposal under the moonlight. We read every comment. New love story coming in 3 days. Don't miss it.